Hello, hello, hello. This is Pastor Jay of Walking Truth Radio Network, and I'm coming on live because I just want to ask the question: where is the grace in America these days? Where is grace? It seems to be thrown out the window for cancel culture. You have Joe Rogan speaking his mind, whether you believe it or not, um, and they want to cancel him. Whoopi Goldberg is speaking from her perspective, and they want to cancel and silence her. Where does it stop? Are we going to get to the point where the so-called privilege is the only ones that can talk? And now is happening, the privileged is turning on itself. Who's next? Because you have an opposing view, because you have a different view, because you may have a view that is not as informed as the next person. Does that eliminate you from your ability to speak and convey your point that others may correct you, instruct you, and enlighten you? We're trying to avoid the ugliness of America by silencing those who have opposing views, even views that hate. Is not letting them speak going to stop the hate that's in the heart? No. It's only through dialogue with those who hate you and where grace is applied and trying to listen that you consider others more significant than yourself. It's not just your friends, of course not. The Bible teaches us that we even to give our enemy a cup of water, that we may show them kindness, because it's easy to show kindness to those who think like you, talk like you, and look like you. But we see it's awfully hard to really dialogue with people who have opposing views. And now we're in a time in history where opposing views of any kind that don't fit the narrative of today may be considered worthy of being counseled. Not only counseled in the voice, but their whole career may be counseled. We're finding out, which I don't know why everybody's so up in arms. This has been going on since there has been privilege, class, and power struggles, that people would make alliances inside of the workplace that would be sexual in nature, and people would rise up through those means, and those or others will rise up through other means. But these all work together, and we're finding out that top executives at companies are having sex with their underlings and those who are under them, and they have preferences because of their relationships. Come on, people. Don't be so naive. This has been going on for a long time. There's probably not an organization in the world where privileged, powerful men and women have used their position to garner around them their prey, because they can become predators. Why rent a hotel when I have a beautiful office that I can lock the door and do what I want to do? Because there's somebody out there that believes that if they satisfy the sexual needs of this person and establish some kind of relationship, that either one, they will have a foothold into their career going up, or that they may get the job that they want. People on the bottom have used their position to gain a foothold, to be on top, to have something over you that you would be embarrassed if got out. So they use that leverage. That's what it is. It's leverage to move forward. Is that so new in the capitalistic society? Isn't capitalism about having leverage, creating an atmosphere where there's competition, and whoever gets to the top by any means necessary is the one who wins? Oh, I know you want to say, well, there's a good way and a bad way to get to the top. Of course there is, but the key is get to the top. You see people promoted that you can't understand why they're promoted. You're better than them. You're more skilled than them. You're more articulate than them. And yet and still they get promoted. And you wondering, they went out last week with the boss, and they got the same clothes on that they had on when they left the other day. And then they start having lunch with the boss, and dinner with the boss. And the boss brings them up in meetings. And then you're working hard. Man, that's been going on a long time. Why are we acting like that's new? But now even the little person who wants to speak out may be silenced. The masses of people, when they banding together, may be silenced. Mask, unmasked, vaccine, and unvaccine. Can't you see they're creating division so you won't look at the real problem is the hatred in people's hearts? And as much as they try to cover it up and say they're doing best for society, they always are eliminating a whole nother sector that may think a little different from them. But now we don't even want to communicate with them. We just want to counsel them. And think about this. If we keep counseling people, they're going to band together eventually, and it's starting to happen. They're going to band together and form their own thing where nobody's going to be counseled. Everybody's looking for a platform to which the cancel culture can't touch. And you entrepreneurs out here in the digital world, if you create a platform that cannot be touched by cancel culture, you will have everybody coming to it because you know what? As an African American man, I want to know how much you hate me. I want you to be able to spill your venom so I can see you coming. It's the ones who smile in my face with a knife in their hand, and when they hug me, they stab it in my back because they're scared of cancel culture, because they don't want to be exposed, because society says they shouldn't say this or that, but they demonstrate it in a much vehemently, violently way behind my back. Those are the ones I worry about. And there's a certain class of society that when something is said against them, man, the whole world stops to listen to them. But then there's other classes of society that atrocities are being performed against them. And guess what? The good old Americans don't say nothing. Slave trade is still going on in Africa. And the good old America don't say nothing. There are things going on around the world that if they were exposed in America, that they did it here, that we would rise up and fight against it. But we're the policemen and the moral compass for the world? I think not. For the few true Christians that are left in America, it's an uphill fight for us. We don't look at color, we don't look at class, we look at Christ. But even in that, there's division and fighting and canceling and evangelicalism and all the stuff, conservative, liberal, all these divisions. But where's the grace? Did grace go out the window because you believe that you're right? Did grace go out the window? It would seem that if you believe that you're right and you're so right in your convictions that grace should be at the highest order of the day because you can stand and withstand anything that comes against your point of view by grace because that's what we stand on. We stand on the truth and the grace of the word of God. And it's not many truths. There is only one truth, but yet and still, isn't it better to serve up truth graciously sometimes? Law can never save, law can never make anybody do right. But as Christians, we claim that because we love what Christ done for us, paid the penalty for us, that we extend that love to others. He said, God, forgive them. Father, forgive them. Like Stephen said also, for they do not know what they do. That's a gracious act to some unkind people. So where is that in America? Yeah, we have spots and blips of it, but the overall thing of America has become hatred, canceling. We've sectioned ourselves off into so many subsections. Why can't we just be humans, loving on humans, having different views, having opposing views, having different thought processes that we can sit and talk out? Everybody wants to scream and yell. On YouTube, there's clicks and views and beef, especially amongst the African American YouTubers. There's this superimposed, super inflated beef that's going on between people that don't even really know each other than in YouTube, these real life people with families and loved ones who care about them. And now there's beef to the point where there's threats being made and violence being perpetrated against people because they on YouTube. And we see that that gets the clicks and views. It's the doo-doo of America that people like, and they won't want to admit it. They don't like puppies in love. They want ugliness and visceral violence and people getting hurt because they want to sit back and laugh. But when it comes to their door, they want some grace. When that thing that you're laughing at, that you're supporting on YouTube, comes to your door, you want the police to show up. There are some YouTubers that have good content. I respect their content and their points of views, and they bring out good dialogue on tough issues. And yet there's others who understand that the doo-doo creates the clicks and the views. That we need to get to the confrontation and the yelling back and forth and talking over each other so the people can comment and go crazy and be keyboard gangsters and keyboard eliminators. That you need people to moderate the comments because everybody's going crazy. And YouTube has to come in and say, look, those comments are not acceptable. Do you really believe canceling people is going to stop the flames of hate from going forth? And what I see is the gracious people that's being canceled left and right. You don't want to hear from people like me and others. You want to support the foolishness, the bashing, the immoral. And you don't even want to have a dialogue about it. You want to stop anyone who doesn't see the world like you do, doesn't conform to the sheep being led to the slaughter, doesn't want to become this person that always follows the trends. And anybody that's been a good leader, a great leader, has always went against the trends to create something that's new. And in this cancel culture, watch and see and listen to this, you're going to create something new. Because what's happening is the cancel culture is canceling its culture. You're finding out that the ones who started BLM made lots of money, but nothing has changed in our inner cities. You got these young politicians who have come to the conclusion that they've watched the old politicians get rich and they're going to get rich too. And right now you're going to watch them, watch the young ones that's coming in. If you if you're able to live 20 years from now, as they win year after year after year after year, you're going to watch them become rich and powerful and influential, and they're going to have nothing in common with the people they serve. You're giving them a chance to create a dynasty. Only they have to do is keep lying to you and get elected. But you don't want to counsel them. You want to join them in counseling others. Watch them. Don't you think that Bernie Sanders is just as rich as any other senator, Republican? Some richer than others, but none of them are poor people. None of them are average means people. None of them have the insurance that you have. They get free insurance. And all they would have to do is give you the same insurance they get. But they want to create a separation and get you to believe that whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that there's this feud between them. And it's really two sections of privileged people confusing the masses of poor people into thinking that each one is for them and they feed off each other. It's like that Three Stooges skit where people come up with the two rich people bet on whether they can make the Three Stooges gentlemen or not. And what they do is just go along and don't do it. That's what we have. They just go along and you find out that they really are friends. The bet was really nothing but a few dollars, but they had caused a lot of mayhem in between. Again, pay attention to what's really going on. Listen to them talk. Across aisle, we are friends. They're not enemies. Not for real. They create you a division amongst you who really have no decision making power because you put them in office to make decisions for you. And their only concern is, can I get elected again? And if I get elected at least 3 more times, I may be good for a lifetime in this position. Your vote only counts as you are influential in the masses to get the person elected. So you do have a level of power. But nothing is really changing. It's getting worse. But the Bible tells us that it's going to wax worse because people are hating at levels that's never been registered before, but it's always been in their heart. Those who are willing to extend grace, I encourage you keep extending grace. Don't give up on it. Grace helps us endure. Grace is the Christian superpower. Grace doesn't make other people change, but grace might make one person decide that, you know what? I don't want to hate anymore. I don't want to use my class, my power to cancel somebody out just because I can. I don't want to sit on top of some ivory tower and dictating to the people what to do and what not to do. And I'm doing the same thing, and I'm doing even worse. I'm telling them that they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. They should have this kind of moral compass. And then we come to find out a couple of years later, decade later, after you made your millions, that you were doing the same thing that you were telling us not to do at a rate that we could never do it because we couldn't hide it, but you could. And you were in charge of canceling me. Oh, I went overboard with prosperity preaching, but you didn't give none of the money back. To admit that you've done something wrong and keep the money, that's a useless apology. I've made millions. Oh yeah, I made them wrong, but you know what? I went overboard making the millions, but you know what? Hmm, I'm still gonna keep my millions. You don't say that to the average criminal out here, but they're telling you they've taken advantage of you, and there's no requirement of the society to say, let's cancel them. No, you double down because the goal is to, if they did it, I can figure out a way to do it too. While the humble people, the poor people, the middle class people stay confused and stay arguing with each other, their points. It's like the privileged become the ones who tell you what to say to the others who are like you, and you become their voice box. And then when they become unpopular, then they back up, and then you're left holding the bag because you were the voice and they were just directing you as a puppet. And then when you're those puppets that are saying this and that and the other and voicing your opinion because you're the one that's in charge, and it becomes unpopular, then as they maneuver you through this and you become unpopular, they cut the strings and back off and say, I never told them to do that. And you're looking at, yes, you did. They don't know they didn't. They become so masterful in their communication. They can do what they call plausible deniability. And you're still out here by yourself, alone, being counseled, and they're still doing what they need to do in society. This is where we're at, saints. This is where we're at, people. We're not in a position to whereas uh, that we sit back and allow things to happen and there's no consequences. It's almost like we're in a feudal state where the most important thing is who you're born to, what family you're in, and not really any character. Character's been thrown out the window. And we see this day in, day out, day in, day out. And there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing supposedly that we can do about what's really going on out here. I just had an accident with my coffee. I'm sorry. But I'm going to wrap this up with this. And I want you to really think about this. When you're willing to counsel somebody who has opposing views, even hated views, views in that get spoken, and they're not normally spoken in a vacuum, you may find yourself, when you're willing to counsel them, the day you stand up, even for what's right, because it's opposes to what's wrong, and wrong is in control, you may find yourself on the chopping block. My opinion is even let counsel culture continue, because counsel culture might just have the opposite effect and create a culture of free thinkers and lovers of word and dialogue that we may get back to at some point. And maybe not back to, maybe we never had it. Maybe we might start communicating with each other openly and honestly and not being so sensitive. My God, we are so sensitive. Maybe the dialogues can be made on truth, on how we feel in our life experiences. And then with that dialogue, maybe we can come to some conclusion. Maybe we can come to the conclusion that this world is really jacked up and it could be better if people would just Be willing to listen to each other, no matter if they vehemently agree or not. But let's not carry hatred into the conversation. And if hatred is there, let it be said. And there's a way to deal with it. The Bible's clear. Love, sacrificial love. Love does change things when it's more than just an emotion, when it becomes a sacrifice. And sometimes we must be willing to sacrifice our privilege, our power, and our class, and even our culture to love someone else who doesn't have it. This is Pastor Jay. This is my commentary for the day. Whoopi Goldberg, stand strong. Joe Rogan, stand strong. And all those, no matter if you're in the class of power or not, stand strong. And let's continue to communicate one with another. Hey, do me a favor, hit the like button, share button, and subscribe on the platform that you're listening on. If you want to leave a comment, please do so. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the other side.